To you from Queen's Park Arena in New Westminster. It's Game 1 of the 1992 Western Lacrosse Association Finals. Tonight's game features the Burnaby Lakers and the New Westminster Salmon Bellies. Stay with us for an exciting evening of lacrosse action. There it looks, it's rather empty now, but it's just in the pregame warm-up of tonight's big game. There's a shot from Queen's Park Arena. And lots of cobwebs and dust on the rafters in this building. It's been around a very long time, one of only 3 wooden floors left in North America. Wooden floors much appreciated as far as lacrosse players go, as far as lacrosse. A good shot, and hello everybody, good evening. My name's Terry Murray along with Dave Evans in the broadcast booth tonight, and it's our pleasure to bring you a play-by-play description of tonight's Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Finals. Also joining us in the broadcast tonight will be Steve Erickson. He's downstairs bringing us insight in tonight's game, and of course the rest of the Rogers Cable Sports crew here to bring you whatever we can find from this Queen's Park Arena. And Dave, a good series we're looking forward to. Burnaby 4-3 over Victoria, and then New Westminster 4 games to 2 over Coquitlam.
Yeah, Burnaby had a tough series against Victoria, and I think the fact that they came from behind a 3-1 deficit in that series to win the last 3 games may give them a bit of an emotional lift. On the other hand, the other side of that coin, of course, is that New Westminster, finishing their series up almost a week ago, have had that time off to nurse any little injuries they might have acquired.
Okay, Game 1 goes here in Queen's Park tonight. Then Game 2 is Sunday, part of the Pacific National Exhibition, the P&E. That game will be at the Pacific Coliseum. Then Game 3 will be here back in New Westminster on Monday night. Then Game 4 goes in Coquitlam. Now, Burnaby's rink is much smaller, and I think the league decided to go for all the home games away from New West, but into Coquitlam and, well, the Pacific Coliseum. How will that affect these clubs?
Well, I think it's going to hurt Burnaby. I wasn't aware, to be honest with you, until this morning. I knew the game, of course, was in the Coliseum, but obviously, like you mentioned, Burnaby Arena, in terms of attendance, is not the best facility in the world. But from Burnaby's standpoint, they're always tough in there. It's a smaller floor, and Coach Bob Salt and Gary Stevens have kind of molded the team to play well in that building. I think it may favor the Bellies a little bit, playing the whole series on the bigger floors.
Well, we'll have more comments regarding these 2 clubs here tonight, but Steve Erickson is downstairs right now, and let's take it downstairs to Steve and get a few of his comments. Steve?
Thanks, Terry. Game tonight's going to be really interesting. We've got 2 teams, both want it, and they both should be aware of winning it. The biggest thing right now is who wants it and who is going to be more desirable to win it. We're looking at the teams. New West Salmon Bellies are, without the word of a doubt, a lot larger team. They're a lot more physical than the Burnaby Lakers are. The Burnaby Lakers, I am looking right now to watch the Burnaby Lakers. They're liable to go to the outside. They played the other evening. They go an awful lot to the outside. They feed the center. They play the high slot extremely well. And they really stay away from really foolish penalties. If New West Salmon Bellies try to intimidate them into taking unnecessary penalties, this could be a real costly affair for the Salmon Bellies. But we're going to see which team has more desire and determination, Terry. Go back upstairs.
Well, thank you, Steve. And Dave, I should also introduce you as the coach of the Philadelphia Wings in the MILL. And for those lacrosse fans, you probably know about that Eastern Pro League back east. And for the people on the West Coast who don't know much about it, well, you've had a little bit of lacrosse knowledge here, a lot, on the West Coast, and then also on the East Coast. How can we tie that into tonight's game and bring you the analysis?
Well, I think from my standpoint, of course, it's a little different game from the Mill to the Western Lacrosse Association. One of the interesting things, of course, is we have some players here playing in the game that played in the Mill. Dallas Elliott, the Burnaby starting goaltender, played for me in Philadelphia with the Wings and was on the second All-Star team in the Mill. And John Wilson from Burnaby played for Pittsburgh in the Mill, and Peter Park played for Detroit. So there is a little bit of a tie-in, personnel-wise at least, with the Mill. Beyond that, it really is a different type of game. I think the Mill is a little more helter-skelter, fast-paced game, whereas the Western Lacrosse Association, a more controlled, ball control, focusing more on the skill than the athletic ability.
Well, skill and athletic ability has been the how can I say, the forte of the New Westminster Salmon Bellies here. I really don't know what I'm trying to say, but 24-man cups after last year's win over the Brooklyn Redmen here in New Westminster. That seems to be the story of the New Westminster Salmon Bellies. The quality of players that they keep getting year after year keep getting to be the same. And New West, congratulations to them for recruiting and producing those 24-man cups through the history of the cup since 1910. We had a look at the New Westminster Salmon Bellies team and just what it's like to be a Salmon Belly. And the New West Salmon Bellies, you'll see them pour onto the floor. The 82nd version of the Man Cup is won by the New West Salmon Bellies. '91 saw the Salmon Bellies win an unprecedented 24th Man Cup, achieving a feat that few other professional sports teams could compare with. Only the Montreal Canadiens could rival the New West team in terms of championship victories, and it is this winning tradition that this year's team plans to continue. The team itself is best known around North America and various other areas of the world for its name, the Salmon Bellies. Originally known as the Westminster Lacrosse Club, in the early 1900s, rival teams would ridicule the club by calling them Salmon Bellies, a somewhat uncomplimentary title, seeing as bellies of salmon would simply be thrown out, obviously the unusable part of the fish. As time went by, locals began to grow fond of the catchy name, and eventually the team officially became known as the New Westminster Salmon Bellies. This year has seen the team go through many changes, having lost a couple of key veterans. Still, the team managed to finish first in the final regular season standings of the Western Lacrosse Association.
We have a very talented team. We added a lot of talent as the league progressed. We have yet to play consistently well. We'll have a good game, we'll have a bad game. There's no questioning we've got talent, but we have yet to really start playing consistently well.
What does it mean to finish first in the regular season?
Well, it gives you home floor advantage. We certainly, that's a great value to us. We enjoy playing in this building. It's an advantage, and I'd certainly like that.
The success of this year's team is credited to the productive mix of key veterans with new young talent. The team finished the regular season with 17 victories in 24 games and proved to themselves and others that they are once again legitimate contenders for the Man Cup. Most of the players are involved in lacrosse because of their love of the sport, not the money. Unfortunately, lacrosse is not the box office sport that it could be, and it is not a game of $1 million a year contracts. So what attracts these talented athletes to the sport? Well, for most of them, it's the rivalries and the competitiveness that is the sport of lacrosse. Each year, players and coaches alike put in countless hours of their own time, sacrificing other aspects of their life in order to make the commitment that is necessary to do well in the sport. Victory is sometimes their only reward.
What motivates me, I think, is just that I've been playing for all these years, and it's sort of part of my life to come out here and play lacrosse every year. And every spring I look forward to coming out, and I look forward to being with the guys, and I look forward to the competition and the intensity playing out there and the whole thing that makes up lacrosse.
Well, I think the hard work is part of the team atmosphere. You get to work with a bunch of people in a team atmosphere, and I don't think it's really hard work. It's a hard work, but it's fun at the same time, and so I think you don't really recognize it as hard work. It's just something you enjoy doing.
How do you feel about being a New Westminster Salmon Belly?
Well, I love it. It's a great tradition on the team, and the people working for the team have always been good. You know, I think the tradition is the big part, and it's always been that way. You know, when people hear lacrosse, they associate New Westminster Salmon Bellies, and I think that's one of the nicest things about the team.
it's just in my blood. I've been playing since I was 7 years old, and I haven't really outgrown it. It's still my #1 priority in my life right now, and I don't know. It's something that's in your blood, like I said, and you just keep playing summer after summer, and until I find something better to do, I'm going to keep at it.
What motivates you?
What motivates me? Just to keep getting better every year. I want to think I can get better every year, not just stats-wise, but keep getting to the championship year after year. I think that's a good mark of a good player. And personally, you know how well you're playing, but as a team too, it's important like to gauge yourself year after year and try and improve every year. That's what I try and do.
How do you feel about being a New Westminster Salmon Belly?
Well, it's sort of like being a part of the Montreal Canadiens organization. It's the greatest organization in the world, the Salmon Bellies. When you can come to a club that in the last 10 years has been to the Mann Cup, 7 times, and then the history of lacrosse is the dominant organization, it's a bonus. It's like coming out of hockey. Where would you want to go? You would want to go in the NHL to a team like the Canadiens who are established. So this is the best organization to play for.
A very convincing victory.
You can bet that after the past few months of commitment to the sport, every one of the New West players is prepared to give everything they've got to make it to the Mann Cup and continue the winning tradition that is the Salmon Bellies. Well, as mentioned, Dave, New Westminster defeated Coquitlam in the first round of the playoffs in the semifinals. Coquitlam ended up finishing 4th this year, and then Burnaby defeated Victoria, and Victoria ended up finishing 3rd. So it is a little bit right that New Westminster and Burnaby end up playing against each other. So right now that brings us to our next little piece here, where we're going to talk about the season for the league, and I think these two teams had darn good seasons.
Yeah, I think if there is any justice involved, these are definitely the two best teams. They were the best teams over the regular season, and it's one of the unfortunate things about playoffs is very often you don't end up with the true best teams making it to the final series. And I think that's definitely the case here. They both got off to really good starts. I know New West, as you see on the screen now, they finished 17-7. They were 13-2 at one point, so they did tail off a little bit near the end of the season. And then at the bottom end of the standings, you've got Victoria, Coquitlam, and Vancouver that actually went through a bit of a turtle race, if you want to call it that, in the last couple of weeks of the season to make that final playoff spot. But definitely the two best teams are playing, and that's the way it should be.
And if we can really talk about the series, how it's going to be matched up, well, Burnaby has 3 wins versus the Salmon Bellies this year, while New Westminster has 3 as well. And I believe the only difference is, I'm going to learn how to talk before this game's over today. The difference is basically New West has scored more goals in the season series, but as you look at the Burnaby team, and number 25, Derek Moffat on your screen, and I think Burnaby is matched pretty good against New West.
Yeah, they played against them well all year, and it's interesting showing Derek Moffat on the screen there. It's guys like that. Derek's a rookie with the team this year, scored 2 goals in each of the last 2 games against Victoria, and it's guys like that I really think are going to be the keys for both teams, not the well-known names. Naturally, we focus on the big names, the Benny Helges and John Wilson and so forth, but it's going to be the lesser lights, the so-called second stringers, third string players that tend to be the key in a lot of these playoff series.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those playoff series. The previous scores in Victoria against Burnaby, that series, as I mentioned, went to 7 games, and Burnaby played excellent defense in that last game, Game 7. They were down 3-1 at one point in this series.
Yeah, they were. The last 2 games, I mean, they gave up 3 goals in the last 2 games combined, and that's incredible. Now, obviously, a lot of that is testimony to the fine play of Dallas Eliak in the nets, but I was at the final game in Burnaby, the 7th game, and something Burnaby did do, and I'm sure they'll do it again tonight, they played a little bit of zone defense, and that really threw Victoria off. Now, I'm sure New Westminster has scouted that and has probably practiced against some zone defense themselves in practice to get ready for that. But yeah, you're right. The defense of Burnaby was really, really sharp the last couple of games.
Of course, 4-2 score in Game 6 over Victoria, and then the 5-1 score in Game 7 over at Burnaby Lake the other night. That sums up how Burnaby played in those last 2 games. Now, Paul Gait had played a couple of games for Victoria. They were hoping to get him in for that Game 7. Apparently that just didn't come up above, but Burnaby goes on. Now the New Westminster Coquitlam series, that wasn't a bad series. Ben Helches was missing for the first 2 games for New West, but Coquitlam, for a team that really struggled for the first 6 games without a victory at the beginning of the season, came on rather strong.
Yeah, they came on very well at the end of the year. As I mentioned, it was a bit of a turtle race, to use the term loosely, with Vancouver, Victoria, and Coquitlam for that last playoff spot. And Coquitlam really played well at the end of the year when they had to, and it's testimony to the work, of their coaching staff and the players at Coquitlam. And they gave Westminster a good run. I think part of the problem, as you say, is Ben Helge's missed a couple of games. Of course, I'm sure we'll mention throughout the game that Jordy Dean, one of their key players, is out for this series and was out for a good portion of that Coquitlam series. And I also think, realistically, that New Westminster maybe took Coquitlam a little lightly and were a little lethargic in that series as well.
Well, Coquitlam came on in Game 4 to make it a really exciting series to tie it up at 2-2, where we came back to New West, and that seemed to be where New Westminster had taken over in that series. And then, of course, that final score of 11-2 in Coquitlam really showed how New Westminster wanted to make it to another final. Now, matchups. Basically, I talked to you earlier, Dave. If we're going to expect a fight out here tonight or some rough play, we thought that maybe Andy Ogilvie from New Westminster, number 20, and number 2, Paul Torrey from Burnaby.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a difference of opinion, shall we call it, earlier in the season, and which resulted in suspensions and so forth. But I don't know if you'll see that kind of stuff. I think it'll be a physical series. New Westminster, of course, as Steve mentioned, a much more physical and bigger team than Burnaby is. But whether it'll get into the fisticuffs, I really don't know. But I do think if we are going to see any of that, it's going to be perhaps tonight early in the series when they do sort of, feel each other out.
Well, other types of matchups, perhaps Steve Erickson can fill us in. Let's go down to Steve right now. Steve?
We are, Terry. Believe it or not, we're here. We're just relocating this door here, Terry. Yep. Terry, nice of you to take our time, just before the game like this, because I realize you got a busy schedule. Let's talk a little bit about game plan and game ploy as to what you or the Salmon Bellies might have to do to overtake the Burnaby team.
Well, I think we're going to certainly have our running game going. Usually, and it's no secret, what we usually do is want to get the ball down the floor quickly, and not give them too much time to set up down in their end. If we allow them to get down there and set up and get the matchups they wanted, I don't think that'll be to our advantage.
We were talking about the game that I was watching the other night there, Burnaby and Victoria. Burnaby seemed to back off when Victoria wanted to be aggressive and try and intimidate them into penalties. Burnaby just backed off. Do you think they'll do the same thing with your team?
Well, I can't actually say that I noticed that, Steve. I didn't think it was a terribly physical game, but I've never seen Burnaby back off from anybody.
Sometimes they do. Let's talk about goaltending. You've come out the victor in the goaltender, in the short end there for a little while. But what do you think it could happen, for tonight?
Well, I don't think there's any argument that Dallas Eliak is most likely his team's MVP. But I think that people should look at it and realize that over the season we've outscored this team. We've had close games in overtime and single goal games. But if you look at the statistics, we've scored more goals on them than they have on us. That doesn't take anything away from Dallas Eliak, and he is very key and very important to them.
Well, he's just come over just behind us right now, but you do have two strong goaltenders. What do you think you're going to come? What type of game they're going to play tonight?
I think they're up for it. I'm not certain who's starting. I think I know, but we'll see in a couple of seconds. We always get very good goaltending.
No doubt. We'll let you go back to your team now because you got a lot of busy duties before the game.
Thanks, Steve.
Terry. We'll go back upstairs to Terry.
Thank you, Steve. And in a moment, Steve's going to be talking to Dallas Eliak. And Dave, Dallas is basically what Burnaby's main chance is in this series, I feel, because of the power of the offense for the New West Salmon Bellies.
Yeah, I think you're right, Terry. It's ironic that these two teams should be meeting in the final. It was 3 years ago, Burnaby's first year in Burnaby, that the Lakers upset the Bellies in the semifinal series, and Dallas Eliak was the most valuable player in the playoffs that year. And I think I'm sure New Westminster is hoping that won't happen again. But I really think that Dallas has had a good a year this year as any goaltender has had in the last 5 or 6 years. And Terry Blair mentioned that he'll certainly be Burnaby's MVP. I really believe that he'll be the league MVP. If he isn't, I think that maybe there should be some kind of an investigation.
Well, maybe Steve can ask him, and I think Steve has Dallas right now. Steve?
I do so, Terry. A very perspiring Dallas. Had just an exceptional workout out there right now, Dallas. You've played a lot of games this season. No fatigue setting in?
Oh, no. At the gate, season's just a warm-up for the playoffs, so no fatigue whatsoever.
What type of game do you think you're going to get out of the Salmon Bellies?
Physically, they'll be quite rough. I'll get a lot of shots, I know that much. They're a good team. They move the ball well, and they've got a great bunch of shooters, so I expect a lot of shots, and it'll be quite rough out there.
Well, it could be. Do you think they're going to challenge the net and really go in and get physical with you?
I think so. They've used their size all year to their advantage. I don't know what the referees are going to call tonight, but yeah, I would expect it'll be a rough game, definitely.
We'll let you go back and have a well-deserved rest before you start the game. Thanks, Dallas. Back upstairs to Terry.
Well, Dave, any last comments? We'll take a break in a moment here, and we'll have first period action. Any comments before the game starts?
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting series. As Dallas mentioned and Terry Blair mentioned earlier, that New Westminster, they want to get a lot of shots to test Dallas early in the game, which means they want an up-tempo game. They want to run the ball up the floor, use their bench, fast break, whereas I think you're going to see Burnaby want to control the ball, slow it down a little bit. So it's going to be interesting because you're going to have a contrast of styles. I look for a very interesting game and a good series.
Well, you look forward to a good game and a series, and so do I, and that's where we stand. Game 1 all set to start here at Queen's Park Arena in New Westminster, the WLA final. The New Westminster Salmon Bellies and the Burnaby Lakers. So stay tuned. We're going to have first period action right up.
To the Cosby Show. In our changing world, mathematical skills can lead to exciting careers.
I think as a publisher, understanding math is critical to understanding the bigger picture of the world today.
Architecture is really almost overwhelmed by considerations that involve mathematics.
I think all musicians are mathematicians. Music is based on vibration, and vibrations are based on math. Figure it out. Math is for everyone. Math equals opportunity.
If you're going to join an organization in your city, join the one that covers the entire field of community service. Get involved in the Chamber of Commerce. The greatest advantage any city can have is the organized leadership of its business people. Whether you're a professional, a business person, or a private citizen, you can make an investment in the future of your city. Get involved in the Chamber of Commerce.
A lazy evening at home. Have you ever considered that your lifestyle might be a drain on our energy resources and on our environment? Maybe it's time we reminded ourselves of the benefits of using energy efficiently. Because the more efficiently we use energy, the more positive the effects for our environment and us all. So let's be energetic about using energy efficiently.
If you have any comments on our community programming channel, please call 588-6172.
You're watching Rogers Community 4.
Welcome back to Queen's Park Arena, and we're just about ready to start this lacrosse game. The national anthem just taking part, and Dave, a couple of scratches for New Westminster. Rich Peterson out of the lineup tonight, number 12. Number 17, Doug Taylor. Number 32, Rob Bell. And also a big scratch, number 5, Jordy Dean, who's gone for the season.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Jordy has a pretty serious groin injury, and looking towards the future, if New Westminster should make it to the Mann Cup, whether he'll be back for that, we don't know. But I think right now, Jordy Dean is perhaps the best playoff player in the Western Lacrosse Association. MVP in the playoffs last year. They're really going to miss him. And as I mentioned earlier, some of the lesser lights are really going to have to come to the forefront to make up for that loss.
Well, maybe we'll be a little patriotic here and listen to the national anthem. Well, we talked about the New Westminster scratches, and then the Burnaby scratch is number 4, a big scratch with a back injury. Troy Pelzer suffered in the last game, number 7 with Victoria. Also, Rob Sumner and Brad Henry out of the lineup for the Lakers. Starting in goal for New Westminster. There he is on your screen. Number 35, Sean Quinlan. And watch Quinlan out of the net. He's great with the ball. I think the total was he picked up 37 assists one season.
Yeah, I think Sean is maybe the best passing goaltender in the league. There you see a look at the referees. On your left, Ron Crusado, and on the right, Ray Durante. 2 veteran referees. And I think you'll see them let the players dictate the game. I certainly hope they do anyway.
Starting in goal for the Burnaby Lakers, as we mentioned earlier, number 35, Dallas Eliak. And Eliak, a member with the Richmond Sockeyes, I guess that's what it was called way back when, before my time.
Yep.
Back in 1989 was the last season Richmond was, before Richmond had merged with Burnaby. So here we are, all set. Burnaby and New Westminster for Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final here at Queen's Park Arena. All set to drop the ball, Mike Kettles. As you see the starting goaltenders, Dallas Eliak on your right, and in the New Westminster's net, Sean Quinlan, as Quinlan comes out to play the ball, as we've got the face-off underway, as the New West Salmon Bellies in their home white uniforms with the red-blue trim, and while the Burnaby Lakers in their black with green and white road uniforms. Inside, here's Callison. Callison takes his shot, and that one bounces funny off the boards, and Callison gets another shot at it. Now over to Sinclair, moving in, off the crossbar, and that ball comes loose, and it's picked up by Goodwin.
The Bellies, I'm sure, happy to see Colin Sinclair back in the lineup. You saw his finesse in front of the net there. He missed the last couple of games against Coquitlam, and that's a big addition, as much as Dean is a big subtraction from the lineup.
Now Johnny Wilson with the ball. Wilson, who played with Pittsburgh in the MILL, controls the ball with 11 seconds on the shot clock. Now off to Cusat. Cusat into Keith Callison, the brother of Eric Callison, both captains of these clubs, the respective clubs. Keith wears number 11 for Burnaby, and Eric wears number 6 for New Westminster. New West makes a change, bringing the ball over as Paul Jones. Jones now puts it inside to Randy Jones, his brother, out there on the same line. Paul Jones in the left corner, dumps it off. Now for Todd Lorenz. Lorenz with a new shot clock and 18 minutes and 30 seconds to go in this first period. We're underway here in New Westminster. The Salmon Bellies and the Lakers. Here's Randy Jones. Takes a check, dumps the ball off. Now Paul Jones. Jones being checked by Callison of the Lakers. Trips, gets up to his feet. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Now Randy Jones tries inside for Dixon. Dixon can't get a hold of that one. Now Lorenz will try to get a hold of it. Just 3 seconds on the shot clock, and Burnaby will control. So Burnaby, Dave, seems to be doing what they did in Game 7 against Victoria, and that's close it up, try not to let anyone inside.
Yeah, they plugged that middle up very well. New Westminster likes to get the ball deep and work cutters to the middle. Burnaby's done a good job so far the first couple of shifts of preventing that.
Here's Paul Torrey. Torrey, that errant pass should be picked up by him, and it is with 9 seconds on the shot clock. He lets that one rip. It goes in behind the net, where Quinlan will slow things down for the Salmon Bellies. We've played 2 minutes and 30 seconds, Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. I'm Terry Murray with Dave Evans, Steve Erickson, Jim Reese, and the rest of the Rogers Cable Sports crew. There's the first goal of the game there, a shot by Donnie McNeil.
Bounce shot to Dallas on the X6. It looked like perhaps Dallas wasn't expecting that shot. McNeil came around the screen, took that long bounce shot. We'll see it on the replay. As you'll see, McNeil up top brings the ball down and comes around the screen. Moffat hanging back on him, comes around that pick, shoots through the screen. It doesn't look like Dallas truly prepared for that shot. Bounces it midway up to the stick side.
So Lorenz and Quinlan pick up assists on that goal by Don McNeil at 2 minutes and 41 seconds, and it's 1-0 New Westminster. Long shot there by John Wilson goes wide of the target, goes all the way down for Eliak, and he'll hang on to the ball with 12 seconds on the shot clock. So just like we were talking about, Quinlan can get assists, and he did so there.
Yeah, he'll be looking to move the ball up the floor quickly. That was a little bit of a, I guess, a second assist, but if you watch Sean now, he's looking all the time, looking up the floor. There's that long pass up to mid-floor. They want to try and establish that fast break. So far, Burnaby's done a pretty good job of getting back and shutting New Westminster's fast break off. But you'll see every time Quinlan gets the ball, he's always looking up the floor.
Mike Kettles takes a shot, goes off the target. Now it's picked up by Steve Goodwin as Burnaby makes a change. And Al Cassat brings the ball up. Cassat out there with Russ Hurd, Moffat, as well Andy Graham, and number 10, Tony Malcolm. Cassat to Hurd. Shot from behind the net, where Quinlan sees the action. Graham with 2 seconds on the shot clock dumps it off. Now a shot taken, and New Westminster doing an excellent job of not letting Burnaby get any shots away.
Yeah, New Westminster so far has done an excellent job defensively, just playing a regular man-on-man defense, just containing Burnaby and not allowing him to get the high percentage shots.
There's Helchis, tries to hit Kurt Milosky on the left side there. It's picked up there by Sinclair, tries a shot that goes over top of the net. Colin Sinclair back in the lineup for New West. He did not play in any of the games that I seen, anyways, any of the first 6 games against Coquitlam. Now John Wilson with his club trailing 1-0 on the early goal by Don McNeil. Salmon Bellies with that lead. Wilson tries a shot right on. Good save by Quinlan. Goes to the right corner, picked up by Helchis. And it'll be New West ball. Helchis a long pass to Milosky, the former junior Adanac. Milosky goes off, and Dixon brings the ball up forward to Randy Jones. Jones gets some room to move inside, gets the shot away, but it's blocked and picked up by Keith Callison. Callison, the captain of Burnaby, and as mentioned, his brother Eric, the captain of New Westminster. So it'll be interesting if they get to any head-to-head combat.
Yeah, I'm sure Mrs. Callison's here with her fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
Russ Hurd with a shot right on. Quinlan makes the save. He got a piece of it. And now Todd Lorenz picks up the ball. Lorenz, he's got 2 with him. Ogilvie and Randy Jones. Lorenz is taken out off the ball, and Burnaby come back.
That's the type of transition game that New Westminster likes to run. They want to get that 3-on-2 break, the 2-on-1 break. And you saw an excellent example there with Todd Lorenz picking up that loose ball on the boards and just hightailing it up the floor.
5 minutes and 50 seconds played in this first period. 1-0 New Westminster. Here's Cassat. Tries to make a move, tries to get open, gets inside. And that shot blocked, and back comes Ogilvie. Andy Ogilvie. Andy Graham chasing him. And a good save there by the goaltender, Dallas Eliak, as Oliver Marty got open on the right side. 13:40 left, a delayed penalty against New Westminster's Don McNeil. Now the extra attacker out for Burnaby. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Keith Callison will control things at center. John Wilson on the right side to Callison. He has Hurd open, he goes to him. Russ Hurd back to Wilson. Shot right on, and Quinlan the save. And Quinlan looks sharp in the New Westminster nets there, and here comes the delayed penalty.
Yeah, you're right. Sean Quinlan looks very sharp so far. He's made a couple of good saves. One off of Russ Hurd earlier. Russ, of course, the league's leading scorer. And then that shot off of Johnny Wilson, who probably has one of the better outside shots in the league. Quinlan, of course, came out of retirement midway through the season to play for the Bellies, and has really been a tremendous insurance policy. The number 1 goaltender, Rick Mang, was certainly number 1 during the regular season, got injured early in the playoffs. Sean's come in and done a great job, and they're going with a hot hand.
So Kettles loses the draw to Johnny Wilson. And now New Westminster will have to kill a penalty. That one to Don McNeil. So Wilson, Hurd, Callison, Stewart, and Stroop on the power play for Burnaby. Dan Stroop will play the left side. Callison with Wilson on his right. Hurd there with the ball on his left. Wilson now gets open. The shot. Quinlan the save, and he hangs on to the ball. 12:50 to go in this first period. 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the penalty. And now a turnover, and it's New Westminster ball, and Keith Callison's a little upset with that one. He felt it went off to the New West player. Ben Helchis tries to hit Lorenz with the ball. Lorenz will pressure Dan Stroop. Now Elliott coolly passes it back to Dan Stroop. Now up for Wilson. Wilson, his mates on the power play. They trail 1-0 on the early goal by Don McNeil. Callison with Hurd to Stroop. Back to Hurd. To Callison. Tries to force a pass outside. It's picked up by the Salmon Bellies. Now Ogilvie, short-handed. Gets checked along the right boards. Still with the ball. Good job there. Puts it towards the middle where it's picked up by Wilson. Here comes Johnny Wilson. Gets past Elchies and wants to slow things down and possibly could have turned it on a little more. And now the ball...
I don't know if that was a smart play by Wilson or not. I guess only he can tell that Helges is right in his tail. And that's probably a smart play in the long run because he certainly wouldn't have had a high percentage shot with Benny Helges right in his tail like that. And there is still time in the penalty, of course.
40 seconds to go in the penalty. We'll check that 30 seconds left. As Helges does a great job along the right boards. Now picked up by Rob Dick in the left corner. Dick being checked by Malcolm. Still with the ball. Dick's getting open. Right in front. Oh, and lost control as he went for the shot. Now Dick is taken out in the corner by Goodwin. And still it's New Westminster ball. I thought it was by the signal of the referee, but here's a breakaway. Torrey right in. Scores!
That's going to go in the books as a power play goal, but a great job by Paul Torrey. And you're right, Terry, it was New Westminster ball. And
Rob Dick, uncharacteristically, just threw that ball away. It was picked off by Torrey, got the breakaway, bounced to past Quinlan. There you see the view from behind the net. Torrey comes in, a couple of fakes. And one of the book on Quinlan, if he does have a weakness, he does tend to go for the fakes. There he brings his body up. Torrey just tosses it into the far side to Quinlan's left. So it's a one-all game.
1-for-1, Burnaby on the power play. That goal coming with 11:26 to go in his first period. And as you mentioned, Dave, a 1-1 score. It should be Torrey unassisted as that ball came off of Rob Dick's stick.
Burnaby's first goal scored on the power play by number 2, Paul Torrey, unassisted. The time of the goal, 8 minutes, 34 seconds.
Burnaby with possession in a 1-1 tie. Here's Andy Graham. His second full season with the Lakers. Now inside, here's Malcolm, tries his shot. And now the pass out in front of the net. Juriga, that one picked off by Quinlan. Sean Quinlan in the nets for New Westminster, Dallas Eliak for the Lakers. And it's 1-1 tie here in game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association final. And there's a pass in front of the net for Miloski. He could not control it, and he gets called on the crease violation.
Great look by Ben Helges. Faked the shot and drew Miloski's man off, coming up to double team. Left Kurt Miloski wide open. Perhaps he was so wide open he didn't realize it himself and bobbled that pass from Helges.
McNeil for New Westminster. Torrey for Burnaby. There's Hurd moving right in, and he shoots it wide. And Hurd got open there for a moment. New Westminster possible breakdown. Let that opening up the middle.
Those are the kind of chances that Russ Hurd is going to bury if Burnaby is going to be successful in this series. New Westminster's defense is not going to give you too many opportunities like that, and those have got to be put away.
Now in the corner, Paul Jones. Out to Ogilvie in front of the net. Randy Jones will go after the loose ball, can't pick it up. Ogilvie has a chance for it, the veteran. Now it's picked up by the Lakers, and they'll bring the ball out. John Wilson comes out with Cusat, Darren London, Andy Graham, and up front Callison. Keith Callison with the ball in the left corner. Off to the right side. There, and a good shot by Cusat. Andy Graham puts pressure on Paul Jones. Jones elects to go to the right side to Ogilvie. Out comes Andy Ogilvie for New West. Ogilvie tries to set her up in the middle. Dumps it off for Paul Jones. Jones has a chance to shoot and is checked immediately. And Burnaby does a great job as the New Westminster Salmon Bellies try to penetrate the slot.
One of the things maybe the Bellies have picked up on, Burnaby trying to be aggressive defensively on their end. New Westminster throwing those big fakes. Paul Jones did basically the same thing that Helges did the time before. And this time, instead of passing the ball off, he went on his man and almost got open.
Here's Juriga. To Hurd. Hurd in front of the net. Gets a shot away and it goes wide in behind now. And that one's picked up by the Salmon Bellies. Paul Jones. Another good chance for the Lakers. Russ Hurd, who led the team in scoring this year.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record, but those kind of chances have got to be put away. Hurd led both the league and the team in scoring.
There's Peter Park. Tries to go in front of that for McNeil. A shot there by Oliver Marty. And Marty, the former Richmond Outlaw there, had a great chance to make it a 2-1 lead.
Real smart play by Marty, picking up that loose ball. That pass wasn't intended for him. It was intended for Donnie McNeil, and it dribbled off McNeil's stick. And real quick, alert play by Oliver Marty to get that shot off, and a good save by Elliott.
Here's Steve Goodwin. As you see the replay there, good chance for Oliver Marty. Keith Cowison for Goodwin. That ball goes out of play. It'll be New Westminster Salmon Belly ball with a 1-1 score here in 8 minutes and 20 seconds left in this first period. Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. I'm Terry Murray with Dave Evans, Steve Erickson, Jim Rees, and the rest of the Rogers Cable Sports crew here to bring you this exciting lacrosse game from Queen's Park Arena. Now Burnaby's Cousette to Russ Hurd. Hurd into the left side for Malcolm. He tries to work free in the slot. Malcolm gets away there from Marty and gets the ball in front of the net for Andy Graham. He couldn't get a stick on it. But a good job there by Malcolm.
Yeah, Tony Malcolm, one of the quickest players in the league, showed his quickness there. And the unfortunate thing with Tony, if there is a knock on him, he's not really a great shooter, and he has to be right on top of the net to get a shot away. And I think if he had a bit better of an outside shot or had more confidence in his outside shot, he could have had a heck of a chance there.
1-1. It's 7 minutes and 30 seconds to go in this first period. Here's Brian Juriga, I should say. Now Davidson dumps it off. The shot by Cowison goes off the target. Quinlan comes out to hold on to that one. Quinlan, a nice long pass to Sinclair. Colin Sinclair right on him is Davidson. Davidson misses him, and Sinclair slows things down to Mike Kettles. Kettles tries to let this shot go. Goes to Kurt Malosky in the left corner. Malosky to Sinclair to the right side. Colin Sinclair can let that shot go quick. Watch for him to get open on the right side all night long. Malosky was open briefly. With 1 second of the shot clock, New Westminster will lose control.
Colin Sinclair, one of the best players in the league and coming off the bench. And as we mentioned before, Sean Quinlan, one of the best goaltenders in moving the ball up the floor. That's a deadly combination for the Bellies, and almost paid off on that last sequence.
Stewart now for Burnaby. The shot right on Quinlan, the save. And now Ben Helges. Helges with Goodwin all over him. And the Burnaby Lakers don't give Ben Helges much time with the ball, and they're on him right away.
Nice job by Goodwin to strip Helges of the ball. That doesn't happen that often. Kind of caught Helges with one hand on the stick, holding it out. And Steve Goodwin did a nice job to strip that ball from Ben.
6:10 to go in this first period. A 1-1 score. McNeil for New Westminster and Torrey for Burnaby. Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. In the corner, here's Andy Graham. Graham with 4 seconds on the shot clock. They'll have to get the shot away quickly. Malcolm will try. Gets it away, and now New Westminster gets possession. Paul Jones, brother Randy on the same line. Played with Brooklyn last year, along with teammate Peter Park. There's a bad pass by Paul Jones. It goes out of play, and it surprised everybody, including us in the broadcast booth.
Almost surprised some of those young fans who almost took one right in the bean down there. It's something you don't see very often from this Bellies team.
Paul Torrey's pass goes astray. That's picked up by Dixon. Dixon with Jones with him. Now he elects to hang on to the ball and put it back for Lorenz. Into Paul Jones. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Ogilvy. Nice pass for Randy Jones. Gets his shot off, and Ellick at that angle. Covered, and the shot went wide anyways. Now Malcolm. As Burnaby will make a change now. Dan Stroop comes out with Cowison and Goodwin. Johnny Wilson is joined by Stewart. Stroop in behind New West net. Wilson in front. Wilson tries a quick shot away, and Quinlan is there to hang on to that one. And Burnaby seems to be trying anything to get a shot away. That time setting up behind the net.
Yeah, smart play setting up behind the net, and Quinlan made a heck of a save, getting the stick down on Wilson's shot. As we mentioned earlier, they did play some zone against Victoria. And you might see Burnaby's coaching staff try and throw some different things at us, just to throw them off their game.
Keith Cowison, the 1991 All-Star, heads off for a breather. And Burnaby makes another change with 4 minutes and 10 seconds left in his first period, a 1-1 score here in New Westminster. Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. The Salmon Bellies and the Lakers. Salmon Bellies defeated the Adnaks in the semifinal. Of course, the Lakers went to 7 games to defeat the Victoria Payless on Monday night. Check that Tuesday night in Burnaby. Aaron. 14 seconds on the shot clock there. Donnie McNeil gets a shot away, and of course Don McNeil cannot go into the crease area after a loose ball because that's the goaltender's area. And Dave, for some of the lacrosse folks at home that don't understand that, maybe you can allude to it.
Well, yeah, that's definitely the goaltender's territory. As soon as the ball is loose in the crease, nobody from the offensive team, the attacking team, can either play the ball with his stick or step into the crease to play the ball.
Score! There's a shot there by
much like McNeil's opening goal for the Bellies. Jariga took the pass, came around the screen, and beat him low to the stick side. And it's certainly making us look like prophets, Jerry. We talked about the importance of the so-called lesser lights of the Burnaby team, and it's been Paul Torrey and Brian Jariga, not exactly what you'd call scoring machines during the regular season, getting the 2 goals that have given the Lakers the lead.
Scored by number 16, Brian Jariga, assistant number 13, John Wilson, and number 2, Paul Torrey. Time to go, 16 minutes, 51 seconds.
So now a 2-1 lead for the Lakers on that goal by Brian Jariga. Johnny Wilson and Paul Torrey pick up assists at 16 minutes and 51 seconds of this first period. Now Wilson has shot right on Quinlan the save as Wilson let that shot go in anticipation of a goal, but totally surprising the goaltender from New West. Now Helchie's a shot off the target. Quinlan way out of his net. Nice pass off for Hilches on the left side. Hilches can't control it. There's John Wilson with a chance at an empty net. Wilson fires the ball and puts it into the crowd. And John's not too happy about that one.
I can't say as I blame him either. For the uninitiated out there, there are no 3-point field goals in lacrosse. So unfortunately, that just becomes a New Westminster turnover. I'm just going to mention, Terry, something we might see New Westminster start doing. I think Ben Helge's tried to do it. Because Burnaby's plugging that middle up, you might see them try to shoot the ball from outside, the quick releases, and the screen shots, much like McNeil scored his goal and also Jariga's goal for Burnaby.
Not a bad crowd tonight here in Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. 2-1 is the score with 1 minute and 50 seconds to go in this first period. Burnaby leads the game. Dixon to Ogilvie. Ogilvie's checked off the ball, and a loose ball is picked up by Paul Jones. Jones has trouble with it. Moffat all over him, and Moffat comes up with a loose ball. He gets checked off. Now Ogilvie again. Andy Ogilvie, if he can get it, he can get a shot away, but the shot clock runs down, and it'll be Burnaby ball. Brian Jariga, Paul Torrey, the goal scorers for Burnaby. Don McNeil for New Westminster. He opened things up at the 2-minute and 41-second mark of that first period. Andy Graham now on the left side. Works himself into the corner. Puts the ball off there. Coussat takes that shot. Now picked up by Malcolm. For Keith Cowison. Cowison with 20 seconds on the shot clock. 1 minute left in this first period. Now John Wilson. He'll slow things down and hopefully get a shot. Look for an opening, and Wilson tries to get free, and now a cross-checking penalty coming up to Paul Jones, or a high sticking call, and New Westminster goes shorthanded one more time.
That's the kind of call the referees like. About 6 feet away from the referee and a blatant high stick. Wilson sort of ducked into that, but definitely a good call by referee Ron Casato, by Ray Durante. And this could be a key power play. Less than a minute remaining in the period. As you see, Paul Jones in the penalty box. If Burnaby can take a 3-1 lead, the way both teams have been playing defense, that could almost be enough to win it. As crazy as that sounds in the normally high-scoring Western Lacrosse Association, but I think so far we haven't seen that much scoring, and I think it could continue.
So again, Moffat comes in to win the face-off against Kettles. And for the next 23 seconds. Burnaby will have control of the ball unless they can get a new shot clock, but we have 30 seconds to go in this first period. Keith Cowison to Wilson with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Now Hurd. Russ Hurd over to John Wilson in behind. Picked up, now lost with 4 seconds on the shot clock. And the shot off the target, so it'll be New Westminster ball with 10 seconds left in this first period. And a 2-1 Burnaby lead in game 1 of this Western Lacrosse Association final. The Salmon Bellies and the Lakers. Game 2 goes Sunday night at 7 p.m. at the P&E Pacific Coliseum, the venue. And game 3 will be Monday evening as this first period comes to an end. Monday evening's game here at Queen's Park, and then game 4 Thursday evening in Coquitlam. None of the Burnaby home games will be played at their home rink. The Western Lacrosse Association has moved all those venues to different ones, as I mentioned, Sunday at the Pacific Coliseum and then next Thursday at Coquitlam. And we'll have that game on Rogers Cable 4 next Thursday's game as well. And there you see the score after one period here in New Westminster. The Burnaby Lakers 2 and the New Westminster Salmon Bellies 1. And the goals, New Westminster's Donnie McNeil opened it up at 2:41, and then Paul Torrey tied things up at 8:34, and then Brian Juriga at 16 minutes and 51 seconds made it a 2-1 score, Dave. And not a bad period, pretty defensive for both teams. A couple of letdowns which led to goals.
Yeah, I think the key thing, I think, for Burnaby, and we mentioned this earlier, is New Westminster loves to push the ball up the floor, fast break, and so far Burnaby's done a great job of shutting that down, forcing New West to play 5-on-5, and hope that Elliott keeps them in the game. And so far they've restricted the New West to maybe really only 2 or 3 really good high percentage shots.
I was just trying to listen to what the shots on goal there in that first period, but they can't be very much, that's for sure. And Dallas Elliott, the few shots that he did face, he looks strong. And there is the scoring summary on graphics at 2:41. Don McNeil from Quinlan and Lorenz opened things up for New West, and then Paul Torrey unassisted at 8:34. That was a power play goal. And then Burnaby again, Brian Juriga at 16:51 from Wilson and Torrey in that 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Paul Torrey's goal being a power play. Like, it's one of those, if it's a power play goal, it wasn't, because an interception, a turnover by New Westminster, and we mentioned during the play of the period, the lesser lights coming through for both teams, really. Don McNeil, even for the Bellies, not noted as a big scorer, certainly not in the ilk of Park and Lorenz and Helges and these people, and of course Torrey and Juriga. And as we mentioned before the game, very often in playoff series, whether it be lacrosse, hockey, or whatever, it's those lesser lights that come to the forefront, and that's happening tonight.
Well, there you go, 2-1 after one period here in Queen's Park Arena in New Westminster. Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association final. Coming up in our first intermission, we're going to have highlights of that first period as well. Steve Erickson brings us a couple of interviews, so stay tuned with us. And Archie Miller is going to have this little piece from the New Westminster's, the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, right across the street from the Canada Games Pool in New Westminster.
Welcome to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. The Lacrosse Hall of Fame is dedicated to the sport of lacrosse, which many of us think is Canada's national sport. It's located here in New Westminster at 65 East 6th Avenue. That's where the Canada Games Pool is in the Recreation Centre. It's got lots of things for you to see, and I'm going to show you a few of them. I want to just remind you, though, that we do have a brochure. We do have a couple of books, one called Lacrosse 100, which is the history of lacrosse in British Columbia, and another one on the Hall of Fame and all the inductees. And these are available if you get in touch with me at the New Westminster Museum. Now, lacrosse is a wonderful sport. It traces its beginnings to the native people of this land, the native people of what is now eastern Canada and northeastern United States, in that central position. The game was very much a part of their life. The game was not so much as a game. The game was a part of their spiritual upbringing. It was an aspect of life. You were well, you trained, you did these things for the glorification of your God, and you also were very healthy as well. And it was a wonderful sport for them, which took place over huge playing fields. We have accounts that have come down to us that these games were played on fields many miles long. Now, when Europeans come, and they discover this sport. They say that's pretty nice the way it's played. It mixes speed, it mixes grace, it mixes strength, and it all comes together into a very effective athletic endeavor. And so the Europeans took it, refined it to a point of having boundaries, having rules, having methods of play. And so we have the sport of lacrosse. It traces back to when the Europeans began it in the early 1800s, and then with the changes that continue on. This year is the 125th anniversary of Canada. It's the 125th anniversary of organized lacrosse in Canada. 1990 was the 100th anniversary of organized lacrosse in British Columbia. And so lacrosse is very much a part of the heritage of this country, and we welcome you here to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame to find out more about that important part of our history.
Special thanks to Archie Miller there with that feature. And if you'd like to go down and see the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, it is, of course, as I mentioned before that piece there, that it is right beside the Canada Games pool in New Westminster, which is around, I guess, McBride and, well, 4th or something like that. But I don't really know. But I know Canada Games pool. And, gee, by the way, I must give myself credit on that awesome segue I gave to that that piece there, which I'm sleeping here again, but we won't be sleeping because coming up in this exciting game here, we're going to have the highlights from that first period in this 2-1 game, and Dave, I'll try to get myself together.
Well, I tell you, it really is worthwhile for lacrosse fans to get down to the Hall of Fame. I'm kind of negligent. I haven't been down there myself recently, but it really is interesting to see the history of the game and some of of course, all the Mann Cup team pictures, all the members of the Hall of Fame, their pictures are down there and so forth. And there's some interesting things on the transition from field lacrosse to box lacrosse and so on and so forth. It's really worthwhile going down and checking it out.
There's some great pictures down there. Thanks to Archie Miller. He'll be back in our second intermission with another piece. And right now we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more from Game 1 of the Western Lacrosse Association Final. The score after one period: Burnaby Lakers 2 and New Westminster Salmon Bellies 1. We'll be back with highlights in a moment.
Have you ever considered being an organ donor? Your decision to become an organ donor could restore the health of another person or even save someone's life. Time is running out for a number of British Columbians awaiting transplant. Please act now. If you hesitate, a life may be lost. It's easy. All you need to do is sign an organ donor card. For more information, contact the British Columbia Transplant Society, produced by the British Columbia Coalition for Organ Donor Awareness.
If you have any comments on our community programming channel, please call 588-6172.
A sunny afternoon pleasure drive. Yoo-hoo! But have you ever stopped to consider what an inefficient car does to our atmosphere? Maybe it's time for a tune-up. Regular tune-ups and driving smoothly will help your car and our environment live harmoniously. Because the more efficiently you drive, the more positive the effects for our environment and us all. So let's be energetic about using energy efficiently.
It's really amazing the kind of power that getting involved gives you.
Imagine presents Jerry Burholtz, local hero.
The beauty of volunteer work is that whatever little bit you do really does make a difference. That if you have a purpose and you just go about doing what needs to be done, you can change things. You can correct things that you don't like. You can just make things better.
There's a local hero in all of us. Imagine a new spirit of giving. Be a part of it.
You're watching Rogers Community 4.
Welcome back to Queen's Park Arena after one period of play here. It's the Burnaby Lakers 2 and the New Westminster Salmon Bellies 1. Pretty good first period of action of lacrosse and the Western Lacrosse Association final. Game 1 here at Queen's Park Arena. And Dave, a pretty good period. We talked how defensive it was. Can we see that in the second period?
I would think it'll stay defensive. I'm sure you'll see New Westminster in particular try and pick the pace up a bit. They did through the middle part of the period, but Burnaby did, as I mentioned, did a real good job of shutting down that fast break. And I think if Burnaby continues to do that, and I'm sure they'll certainly try to, we're going to see a pretty tight checking, low-scoring game.
Well, as mentioned, Don McNeil had opened up the scoring for New Westminster at 2 minutes and 41 seconds of that first period, and then things got kind of exciting on this shorthanded goal by Paul Torrey.
Yeah, Paul Torrey, as you say, was a power play goal, actually, and it doesn't look like your typical power play goal. As I mentioned prior to the intermission, that there was a turnover, New Westminster trying to kill the penalty, and a pretty sloppy play in New Westminster's part, gave the ball up, and Torrey showed tremendous presence of mind. We were talking off air of he's not really noted as a big goal scorer, and probably doesn't get that many breakaway opportunities, and showed real good presence of mind to